You're listening to Inside Real Estate with Irv Tremblay on Newstalk 980.
Irv, thanks for holding over the break. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Dave.
Just before we actually stepped away for a minute, we're talking about you had a buyer that you were representing, and you were looking at homes in the Cathedral, Lakeview, New Lakeview area, and
Sure.
Surprised that, wow, there's a lot of listings here all over the map in terms of pricing, and you had to do some work to kind of narrow it down to, okay, here's probably what you need or want and will work for you. So what happens from there? How did you kind of cut the list down, and where did it end up?
Well, it was pretty easy because we went out and looked at a dozen homes, let's say, and the buyer quickly recognized that there were only 2 out of the dozen that really were priced right. And rather than try and put a deal together with a couple of them that they didn't mind, they thought it would be more difficult to put the deal together because they weren't in the ballgame for price.
Right.
So it was very easy. So down to a couple of homes. Here's what's interesting. The one home was 300 square feet larger, had a new double garage, new basement development, granite countertops, new kitchen. Those are all additional benefits to the buyer. Added value to the buyer. And why they're added value is the house was priced less than the competition. They were getting all those things.
Right.
They wouldn't be added value if they wanted $50,000 for them. So in essence, the one that didn't have those added value items helped sell the other property.
The one that did.
And then I get an email, again, email, not phone call, from the other agent. Oh, okay, what happened to your buyer? Well, I said, your seller should look at this house, and that was the competition, and they helped sell that house. You have to get that price adjusted. That's what happened.
Yeah, and you have to, and again, that goes not, don't look back at something from the solds from a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. You have to look last 2-3 days, last week, and be as current as you can with the market. A lot of times, and you've said it before, that agents and sellers don't necessarily adjust as quickly as they need to.
Sure.
I do want to talk a little bit about buyers. You talked about your experience with the one buyer. Sometimes it really is buyer beware, but
Well,
not necessarily just because of the house.
no. When we think of buyer beware, we always think of the house. And this is one thing that we keep coming back to is buyers are typically very mishandled in real estate. That's the only way I can describe it. They're mishandled by the agent. And the reason is agents don't scrutinize the people they hire like a seller. They meet them at an open house, they're referred to them, that kind of thing. And I'll give you an example of lack of representation that a buyer probably expects they're getting and they don't. And let's go to my favorite subject, multiple offers and representing your buyer, which the buyer expects his agent's going to do.
Well, yeah.
Right, or her agent. So I have a property listed. Agent number 1 calls me up. I've got an offer on the property. Great. I say I have 2 separate sellers. I can't get them together until 5:30 tomorrow at my office. They're coming in. Great. I'll fax you the offer. Now I open the door for them to come and present.
You're saying here's where it's going down.
Here's the
and
door.
here's
The door's
time,
open.
and
All you
yeah.
have to do is walk through, right? Ask me, and you can be there, and you should be there. In the morning, I get a call from another agent that says, I've got an offer on the same property. I call my 2 sellers and say, can I tell both these agents that they're competing? Okay?
No, well, why wouldn't you? I mean,
Well-
isn't that an automatic?
No, it's not automatic, and you can't do it, and agents do it every day of the week. You can't do it without asking permission to your seller, because if things go sideways, you're going to be in trouble. So they said yes. After I explained, if we tell both of them, there's the chance that one of them will say, no, I don't want to compete, and back out, and
Okay.
you lose that.
Okay.
I have to tell them most of the time it's better you get a higher offer because they know they're competing. Okay? So we tell both of them. Agent number 1 never gets back to me to rewrite. Agent number 2 says, shred that first offer. I'm bringing you a new offer. I love it. I tell agent number 2, presenting at 5:30. Doors open again. All you have to do is walk through. So that agent drops an envelope off to my office, to my staff. This is a great story, actually, Dave. This is a good story. So my staff opens the envelope, looks at the offer, calls me, tells me all the details of the offer so I know in case I've got any questions. Meantime, I get this phone call from the agent number 2 that wrote and dropped off this envelope. You'll never guess what happened, Irv. No, I won't guess. Please tell me. So she says, I dropped that offer off in a sealed envelope, and your staff opened it. I says, yeah, why wouldn't they? Well, that's against all regulations. And I said, what regulations? Well, that offer should only be opened when you're in front of the seller and presenting the other offer. And I said, well, that's not very good. What if I had a real important question? You're not there. The other agent's there. I opened the door again, right? And you weren't there. I might take the other offer. If I had real important questions, this way I can phone you. Well, I still think it's against the regulations. And I'm kind of laughing a little bit. And anyway.
Now, we should make it very clear. It is not against any regulations.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Maybe in another country, but not here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said to the agent, and I like to try and help agents out. I said, you know what? If you really want to represent that buyer, instead of this, a little bit of Scotch tape on this envelope, this seal, it didn't have an official, there's no wax on it.
No sealing wax,
no,
red sealing wax.
Nothing like that.
I
said, why?
Signet ring? No.
Why wouldn't you turn up and present the offer? And there was silence. I never thought of that. I never thought of that. Now imagine you being the buyer and that's your representation. I never thought of that. And I says, well, it's a good idea. In fact, if it was me, I'd turn up and I'd bring the buyer with me. Really? And I said, yeah, I'd bring the buyer with me. I'd bring the buyer up to the office and set him right there for my seller to see down the hall. Oh, okay. Never turned up.
No, still didn't.
So then we get to present this particular agent number 2's offer was better. We countered, phoned, got the counter over to them, got them the property. The agent said to me, well, that's great. I'm glad we got the property. I had a great day. I was out water sliding. Well, that's good. That's really good. You're water sliding instead of turning up to do the offer. Now, I hope your buyer doesn't know that. But you know what is the most fascinating thing about this story? This agent, and we talk about training and lack of training, this agent works for an agent who has been in the business 5 or 6 years, maybe 5 years. In that agent's first year, the one that's been in 5 or 6 years ago, who employs this agent who just wrote the offer and didn't turn up, she wrote an offer on the property, same scenario. She's faxing the offer. And I says, how long have you been in the business? 6 months. And I said, well, do you know how to do multiple offers? Oh, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, of course.
I says, well, you're not doing it the right way, faxing it. That's not good representation. I says, get your buyer in the car, drive them over to the house, park them in front of the picture window, and come in and get down on your knees and beg to my seller that you want the opportunity to present a counter if everything isn't okay in the offer, and you're going to walk right out there and in 2 seconds have the answer. Well, she thought she knew everything, but she didn't know that. So she did it. I got to give her credit. And she almost got on her knees and begged. She got the property for her buyer who was sitting out there. Got a counter offer, no problem. She hasn't passed that on to her employee.
Oh, training.
Training. And, that's the way it is.
Irv, great stuff. Good chatting with you again.
Yeah, you too.
By the way, a lot of information off Irv's website, www.irvsells.ca. That's irvsells.ca. Also, you can give Irv a call, 790-3753, 790-3753. And if you want to have a little fun, check it out on YouTube too.
Sure.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate with Irv Tremblay from Century 21.